Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris O'Rourke.
And I'm Karen Ream. And topping our news on this Friday, June 5th, is a presidential surprise for a local man.
He now has a treasure trove of historical items straight from the White House.
And then when I asked my wife to get a letter opener or a knife or something to open, I said, let's be very careful when we open this.
John Deppen talks about receiving a UPS package in the mail on Monday, and while it seemed very inconspicuous at first, a quick check of the place of origin set this parcel of mail apart from any other, having come from the White House Office of Records Management. Much to Deppen's surprise and delight, there were 2 manila envelopes inside with the White House return address stamped on them. 2 autographed pictures of President Barack Obama's March event in Selma, Alabama were inside the one, along with a signed copy of the 5-page speech he delivered on that day. But what meant the most to the Northumberland resident was the content of the other envelope, an individual note that talked about Deppen's 11-year-old daughter Molly and was once again signed by Obama.
I know for me, when I read the last line of that letter where he says, as one proud father to another, I really appreciated that. I think a lot of times we forget that, our public servants, particularly our leaders like the president, are people. He's a father. He's got 2 daughters that are somewhat close to my daughter in age. And when he makes decisions about the country, he makes them not just as the president, but as a father. And when I make decisions in my own life, I make them as a father. And I think he appreciated the fact that it was someone who wasn't necessarily, complaining or making any kind of demand. It was just simply an expression of appreciation and respect.
This all came about after Deppen and his family watched the president's speech that day in Selma, and he felt so moved by it that he wrote a letter to the president expressing how moved and inspired he was by it. He never expected to get a response, but is still delighted he did, although now he has to figure out how to frame all the pieces in his house. We also got a surprise this afternoon, having reached out to the White House press office for some insight into how the president responds to letters like Deppen's. They informed us that he receives thousands of letters each week, and the mission of the Office of Presidential Correspondence is to understand and listen to the views and experiences of those letter writers and coordinate a response on behalf of the president. They say it's also not uncommon for the president to read these messages and respond himself. The president reads 10 letters every day that the Office of Presidential Correspondence selects as a representative selection of the messages he has received. The president responds to these messages in a number of ways, including by sending a response by mail. He talked about it in remarks in Colorado in July of last year, calling it one of the most important things he does because it reminds him of why he ran for office.